Just say it wasn't so. Just say you love me and let me fall back into sleep. And when I wake up, you say I had a real bad dream. Whoa, real bad dream. And then tell me, baby, about the time when we first met. Yeah, we were young back then, but I will never forget. You wore a blue dress, and you had flowers in your hair. You were my princess, my diva extraordinaire. Whoa, say I had a real bad dream. Don't tell me where you were last night. Don't wanna hear a single word. Make up a story about how you were staying late at work. Say that you had a flat tire. Say the elevator stuck. Just don't go and tell me what I don't wanna hear. Pretend that it was a real bad dream. Real bad dream. Whoa, bad dream. Whoa. Tell me, baby, it was a real bad dream. Tell me, baby, it was a real bad dream. Tell me, it was a real bad dream. Tell me, baby, it was a real bad dream. you.
Sidney Rhodes Show, Facebook, Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. Follow us at Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. The Sidney Rhodes Show. You're on the right road with the Sidney Rhodes Show. So, yeah, I just, it's just a part of speaking out for those that, don't have a voice, we have an obligation, to help cats. It just can't be about us all the time. There's people that need help, and this is what we do, We got to reach back. We got to help out. Sidney Rhodes Show. That's what we all about. Why do this, Sidney Rhodes Show? Well, it's not about whether or not, we have all the answers. I think it's a collaborative effort. I think that there are a lot of brilliant people in the world, and this is a point, a critical point in history. And if we can circle the wagons round, if we can bring the people together to think about the concepts and look at things from a different angle, different perspective, look deeper, it's possible that we can help somebody. It's possible that we can create better structures, towards a more perfect union. You dig? So I really, I throw out a lot of questions, because I really want people to think. And, sometimes I just, I believe there's a utility to just allowing some things to be questioned, just that First Amendment right, just allow it to be questioned, and then if it's the truth, let it be the truth, if it stands, let it stand. If not, then we got work to do. You feel me? I think we owe it to ourselves. We owe it to our future. We owe it to our children to get to the truth and then stand on that. That's the Sidney Rhodes Show, So I invite people from all different perspectives, with respect. We put it up. We put it to the test. That's what we do. Sidney Rhodes Show. And that's why we do what we do. Gotta love it. Sidney Rhodes Show. The Sidney Rhodes Show, Facebook, Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. Follow us at Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. The Sidney Rhodes Show. You're on the right road with the Sidney Rhodes Show. Welcome, Sidney Rhodes Show. We are so pleased to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Wow, what a topic for tonight. It's just going to be a great night. I am privileged and honored to even indulge upon such a critical subject. There are many ways to approach this one, brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. But on the outset, I have to just say that I know that this is a sensitive and important issue. It's really not one we can play with because, as we know, it can have very crucial impacts upon society. The way in which our families are structured, the skills, the responsibilities, the values that we bring to the table. It's serious business. So if our families are at odds, non-existent even, if we're hurting, then typically we hurt others. If we don't have the ability to stop the pain or fix the situation, make things right, where do we go? So we're hoping that we can go to a better place after tonight, that we'll have a destination. Maybe we won't be able to fix everything. That's setting the bar pretty high, but at least we're going to get down to the nitty-gritty tonight. We posed a question on Facebook, and I have to tell you, I respect and appreciate all the responses that we get online. It's just great. It's just really great to have you respond, to have you engaged. And then when we jump on our programs from 9 to midnight, it's just a great chance to look back and reflect upon what we've gleaned from that and try to push it even further. Give out those diamonds and rubies as we go along. But it's a collaborative effort. We don't put it out there that we have all the answers. We have perspectives, and we are trying to get to the truth together. So that's why we invite you to chime in with chat, we invite you to call in live 917-725-4241. We invite you to go back and check out the programs on demand, iTunes and YouTube. You put in the Sydney Road Show in your search bar. Boom, there it is. Well, we got a lot to do tonight. I think it's going to be a memorable night. We're gonna be joined in a few moments by a great man, someone who's in the trenches, and it's just really going to be great to get his insight on where we are, maybe how we got here, and then where we can go. The man lives it, so we're going to be honored to hear what he's got to give to us in a few moments. Sydney Road Show, and I'm going to tell you straight off that, in fact, Pastor, I'm live right now with you. Pastor Bishop, I was about to give you an introduction, but you caught me a couple seconds before then. So do you mind if I go ahead and say some things about you before you begin? All right, appreciate that, brother. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as we were going to get into the topic, again, the subject matter, can a woman teach a man how to be a man? Can a woman teach a man how to be a man? And right off top, we have to embrace the fact that depending on which worldview you come from, you may have varying opinions, but it's definitely worthwhile that we give ear to someone who's in the trenches, working every day with the men, who sees the ups and downs, who sees the challenges not just from a textbook or not off somewhere with some distant faith, but who's putting it to action and work. And so that's why we're honored tonight to have Pastor Jerry Bishop in the house. He is the pastor of Life Quest in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And this man has my respect and admiration, in fact. And I'm hoping that we'll have a great time and be able to hear from him and those who are listening. If you need a second, we hope that you share this link instantly with all the single mothers that you know, single parents in general, even parents, gonna be, young men. They all need to be engaged tonight. And we're live with the pastor, Jerry Bishop. Welcome, sir. And I do throw out the red carpet to you. You're welcome to expound and to begin anywhere you want, and we'll go from there. Okay.
Because we're not able to listen to the voice of leadership because some man, Sid, has left us. And he's left us in the arms of some many well-intentioned women that are doing the best that they can do. But there's an overstepping in the boundaries of leadership when we start to even formulate the thesis of a woman helping a man be a better man. I don't know how to sum it up other than that. We have done such a poor job of protecting the office of a man. We're not honored in homes. In a lot of homes around America, we're not affirmed. I think that if we packed a forum, we packed the Van Andel Arena out with just men, and if I asked a question, or if you asked a question, or Dr. Rhodes or Dr. Sapp asked a question, how many of you feel that you get enough encouragement in your office as a man? Probably hardly any would raise their hand. How many of you think you get encouraged in the role of being a father? Hardly any would raise their hand. A husband, a hard worker. But then you ask the question, Sid, how many of you think that you get over-criticized for the problems of America? And unanimously, the majority of men in that arena, no matter who the narrator or the moderator is, they're going to raise their hand and feel that the nation is overcritical on our performance. And you don't see a bunch of women, our sisters, leaving their gender role to join us. There are certainly a few. But the office of a man is under so much persecution. Men are leaving, and because women have been left alone, they become so dominant in their own homes. Now they're over-exercising their role of leadership, and certainly men often emulate the party that they spend the most time with.
Right.
So you see the feminism of how we're grooming our young men. And, man, that's just a byproduct of sin. I wouldn't for a moment insult a woman, my mother, my wife, my daughters, my sister, on thinking that I could create a better woman from the standpoint of my manhood. How would we do that when Eve was created out of our rib cage? And most people don't even know why or the value of her position. In marriage counseling, Sid, I explained to many families about men, number one, you need to value the role that this woman has in your life. And that let's not get confused that we are not equals. And nowhere in Scripture would it say that Adam and Eve were equals. Now, that does not mean that Eve is lesser than, but clearly the office of leadership has been bestowed upon Adam. But then we look at that rib cage issue, how when God made Adam go into a deep sleep and he extracted that rib, most people don't even know that without the rib cage in the musculoskeletal system of a man, man can't even stand up. So, man, how honorable is it that our greatest support system comes with that woman that God gave us? And only through the sins of man has the roles been reversed, or the sins of man has allowed us to create what's parity, Sid, in an area that God has never intended for us to have parity in. Think about that.
Yeah, I'm digging deep because you're dropping some heavy nuggets, Pastor. I mean, that's why we're so honored that you're here, man. I mean, you're really laying it down. I wanna make sure that we're all on the same page, okay? So when you say the office of manhood, if you can make that clear. So, what is, when you say office of manhood and you say that there are people who are running from that and the responsibilities of that, maybe you can help us understand, first of all, what is the office of manhood?
Well, first of all, number one, to be the priest of our home, to be the examples of our sons. That's an office. That's an office that's akin in a greater role and responsibility than the President of the United States. It's an office. It's a created role of dominion. You ever look at the simplistic view of a very complex management role was all Adam had to do was manage. He didn't have to go to work. He just had to manage. All he had to do was show a leadership, and he couldn't even do that right. He couldn't do that right because he took his focus off his leadership role. And everything after that gets complicated and begins to get fractured in every segment of relationships based upon the fact that he says, I want you to have dominion over these things. He couldn't even get that right. You think about that. He created one of the second greatest role that we could have, and we couldn't get it right. And because we couldn't get it right, sin enters into the world. And the next thing you know, now we're fighting for the legitimacy of the office of a man. Fighting for the legitimacy. Everything after that has gone down.
So there's an honor, if I'm getting you right. There's an honor. There's a tremendous position that men innately have, that we're given the title office. When he steps into that, when he embraces that there's a high place for him. But if he doesn't step in, then he's not granted that. Or because I'm trying to go back, Pastor, into if he doesn't have the skills, can he enter that office? Because I want to go all the way back when we get a chance to come back to, can that woman give him what he needs to step in the office? Or just because he's a man, does he already have a place in the office?
Well, innately, just like in Jeremiah chapter 1. He knew him before the womb. And he called him. See, we've been called, but you have to absolutely respond. There's a call and response to this. The fact that most people don't see the enormity of the role of a man, so after God calls them, they won't even step up. Now, in just a moment here, I'm going to open up, trying to get to my iPad here because I want to make sure that I articulate
take your time, Doc.
correctly.
Take your time.
Because I don't have the luxury nor the desire to look at this from any other worldview other than the perspective of what God says.
Do you, sir? Do you?
And when you look at the enormity, every time that God calls us to do something, you and I have to question God on this. This is incredible stuff here. In Jeremiah chapter 1, verse 5, he called Jeremiah to be a prophet to the nations, and immediately he made an excuse. An office. He called him to be an office.
Okay.
Then he automatically, because he doesn't want to believe, he says his talent is inadequate. After the fall, the self-esteem of man was so good that they couldn't even do what God told them to do correctly because their self-esteem was shot. Moses, called to do a great work, questioned God. Gideon, called to do a great work, cowering in the cave. But it was there. It was there. We just have to respond. And if we don't respond, how can we ascend to that office? That's the key thing. If we respond, we're in right alignment with our leadership role. If we fail to respond, or we respond incorrectly, we compromise our role, and then a woman has to step up and has to step into an abnormal role of teaching us how to be a man.
Okay, now
have you ever heard of a man talking about teaching a woman on how to embrace her menstrual cycle?
Yeah, that's a rare find. That's a rare find. You know,
You wouldn't. A man has no recollection, no understanding on how to do that.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay,
all I can think of is
because
when
of the
is the rare case when, you know, there's a single parent that happens to be a man and he's trying to say something, you know, that he thinks might be appropriate, which I think is the opposite of what we're saying.
He's speculating.
Right.
Just like
That's
a
right.
woman is speculating on what it takes to operate as an effective man. In Jeremiah chapter 5, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. He knew us as male or female. All we have to do is to respond.
Mm-hmm.
And then right after that, the same Jeremiah says, I don't know how to speak. He told him, I want you to go speak for me. He says, I don't know how to speak because I'm too young. Therein lies the problem. When we don't respond, somebody else will respond to our role. Bishop Abney used to have a great perspective on women in ministry. Not personally, I'm a big fan of women in ministry. I'm not hung up on what they do or don't do. But he said that the only reason why, in most instances, the Lord has to use a woman over a man is because a man won't step up and assume the responsibility. Yeah, think about that. We simply won't assume our God-given role. That's tragic, Sid.
So is it because we don't know to do it? I'm thinking about, you know, some old school stuff, but, you know, is it because we don't know or we haven't been told and we haven't been shown the way? We've seen it and then we fear, you know, like Jeremiah, we run from it. I mean, in your opinion, what's the cause for our non-embracing of the office?
Well, first of all, we commingle so many fashionable worldviews to get around the mandate of what God has for his children. And when we begin to incorporate the thinking and the lifestyles and the mantra of the heathen, now we reduced the office of a king to that of nothing more than a spiritual pauper. That we're not rich in honor and respect. We're not rich in intellect. Now it's almost as if we're treated as if second-class citizens. See, if you and I, our sons, our brothers, adult males, if we would simply focus on what God says we are, who we are, and what we are to be in the office of a man, we wouldn't have a lot of questions, Sid. It's clearly laid out what expectations are. I mean, come on, would you agree that he is the master builder of man?
Oh, for sure.
Could we agree that he's given us an operations manual on which to live by?
There definitely is a roadmap.
Right. It's not only a roadmap, it's an operational manual. Mm-hmm. That if we do A, B, and C, we're going to get the rest correct. Mm-hmm. But if you and I deviate from that, we come up with a bunch of convoluted false expectations for that role. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to figure out at what point I recognize why women have had to step up because we faltered. I know what it's like to be sorry. Mm-hmm. I know what it's like to not have vision. But I also know what it's like for God to take me back, turn me around, like the older saints would say, put my feet on solid ground. And when I'm operating with clear thinking, I'm one of the biggest advocates for the retrieval of men to be a man.
Mm-hmm. So in the midst of the words that you're saying, which are extremely powerful, I want to make sure that the audience, I got to do my job over here too, Dak. I want to make sure the audience has a chance to connect with you and Life Quest. And so throughout our conversation, if you don't mind, I might interrupt you a few times just to give your contact information so that people who are listening to you and maybe didn't get all of it, have other questions, or want to be affiliated with Life Quest and support the great work that you do, I want them to have a way to do that. So if you could please just give a moment to let people know how to contact you in the future and Life Quest in general.
Well, we're located at 1050 Fisk Southeast. We're on the corner of Neeland and Fisk. We're in the old Oakdale Christian School. Our service times start at 10 o'clock in the morning on Sunday. 9 o'clock we have a Sunday school for men and for women. Our men's class is called Man Church. Our ladies' Sunday school class is called Sisters in Spirit. Throughout the week we're open every morning, 8:30 to 12:30. The gym is open for something called Hoop Church. Man, we're available. I can be reached either through social media, just my name on Facebook, or I can be reached, my email is lifequestgroup@aol.com. Man, I'm not afraid to put my cell phone number out there. People can text me. Don't call me. I don't even like answering my own phone. But they can text me at 616-540-9553. I try to be as available as possible because there's a need out there for pastors to be as available as possible.
Hey, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. And I appreciate your transparency there and your willingness to be available. And we will have you repeat that information again as we go forward. So now in this obligation that we're talking about in the office, the obligation in the office, could a woman do what you do with the men that you work with at Life Quest? If we were to take you from that spot, and not in any bad way, of course, but is it possible, which goes back to our question, can a woman teach a man how to be a man? Could we replace you with a woman and be just as effective?
I think that the answer to that would be no, but I think that a woman can step in and can nurture, can grow, can help heal, but there are going to be some components that are missing. There's going to be some attributes that she's not going to be able to grow simply because it's not in her. There's a passion that's in a man that only another man can cultivate. Can a woman motivate a man? Certainly, a woman can motivate a man, but a woman cannot take the place of male leadership in the life of another man. That's why I see it in droves. Mothers are fed up with their sons. They've given up. There's some man has left the home for whatever reason. His option, her option. And then over the course of the year, great mothers are frustrated and bring their sons to me or meet with me and says, can you help my son? And, I got to be honest with you. I don't think that what I do is all that great. I'm just available. I'm just consistently available. I don't think that the anointing of my life is any more supernatural than anybody else's. I don't think it's any less. But God has certainly called me to the office to renovate, the office of ministry that I do, to renovate the office of manhood, to make it fashionable again to be a man, to make it fashionable again to be heterosexual, to make it fashionable to be monogamous and married. That's a calling. And if you find out, if we could just look at this, it's not even fashionable now to be a man. The fashion industry has men wearing dresses. Some of our greatest box office success are walking around an androgynous character, going between a man and a woman, in the offense of the office of a man, at the expense of the church even. So I'm firmly 100% man. She could motivate, she can encourage, she can nurture. She cannot teach a man how to be a better man. It's not possible.
Now there's a flag that I know that you hold up in your own life and with Life Quest. And again, in Grand Rapids, Michigan, I encourage people to get in touch with you and to keep that conversation going. But there's a phrase of iron sharpens iron. How
Sure.
does that relate when we talk about, you brought up the great man, the great man, can't say that enough, Bishop Abney, so men like that, having that influence, and then we see the lack thereof today. Okay, so a man like that was able to plant seeds in other men and make them also great men. How do these young boys, without the other iron to sharpen them, what do they become?
Well, first of all, they grow up perpetually fractured. They grow up in a sense of longing, and they grow into the wrong model of manhood. When you mentioned Bishop Abney, who's been one of the greatest men of my life outside of my father and Dr. Rhodes. See, Bishop Abney was constantly in the ear of the males that he served, no matter what age. Number one, you got to love the Lord with all your heart, all your mind. You have to love the Lord. At the same time, he constantly advocated advancement, achievement. It's not like he was born with a silver spoon in his mouth, but everything that came out of his mouth was about having a man be a better man, that made it easier for a woman to follow, a woman to submit to, and how God, no matter what your start was as a man in life, God could renovate you through the Word of God. When you look at what the psalmist said, how can a young man keep his way pure? Then he answers, by living according to your word. Man, Bishop William C. Abney was the epitome of that. He talked about, number one, taking care of yourself on the outside as well as the inside. Keeping your hair cut, keeping respectable attire, taking a bath, picking up a book, learning how to read, learning proper etiquette from a man that had no initial training in this, but had the desire to overcome poverty, not having a great start in education, to be a very literate man, to be a very learned man. He talked about how to honor your wife through the scriptures, and how when a man finds a wife, not only does he find a good thing, but what the people miss of that proverb is, and finds favor. That how if you tried to excel in being a man, God would bless you. That resonated with me because I did it all wrong by trying to emulate the movie character out of Lady Sings the Blues. Billy D. Williams' character was Louis McKay. I had this dichotomy in me of either Louis McKay or Bishop Abney. One guy who, obviously you've seen the movie, good looking on the outside, very articulate, but was into some bad stuff, into some sin.
Right.
And of course, man, he was very handsome and he attracted a bunch of women, but he didn't attract greatness. But then you look at Bishop Abney, who was a good-looking guy. He was a very well-dressed guy who spoke very soft, who loved people, loved the Lord, and greatness followed him. I never heard him have to. He had a saying, said it's very profound. At a men's conference, the first time I heard it, he said, if a man has to come home and tell his family that he's the man of the house, he probably is not the man of the house. That you should, by living out your role, people would simply submit to that. That's a powerful statement. Living out your role as the man of God, the priest of your home. Man, when you begin to emulate that kind of stuff, of perseverance, enduring faith, you produce such an incredibly aggressive product that the world take notice. When you wake up in the morning, the world says, man, the man of God's feet just touched the ground. That's profound. Simply because you did the right thing. Look at all the overcomers that we've been able to see that came from nothing, were horrible men, but became incredible men, incredible leaders, simply because they followed God. They didn't need a woman to come back and rebuild them. And I'm thanking God for the role that I had with my mother, considering that I had two mothers, one very godly who never questioned my father's authority, prayed for him, prayed with us. Powerful stuff, Sid.
Yeah. I'm so glad that we had a chance to even mention those names, you know, Bishop Abney and the like. I'm just honored that we could even mention those names, man. I mean, there are people out there who never heard the names, or never heard the I Won't Complain, or, you know, never saw the man or shook his hand. And, you know, I mean, just giants. And that's really where the pain is right now, Pastor, that, you know, there are cats who, like yourself, have that, you know, inside, and who are using what they were blessed to receive. And then we look at nowadays where that would be a struggle, as you know, for a man to talk about, even think about he's the man of the house, if she's the one who has the mortgage in her name, if the cars are in her name. You know, nowadays, the struggle of you talking about when his feet touch the floor, and she steady saying it's her floor, her bed, her sheets, and he can go. Where do we go when the young children are watching maybe her defense mechanism? And of course, we're not talking about all women, specifically this group of women who are angry because of they didn't have a father, or they didn't see a healthy relationship, or they didn't see that positive role model of a man. So this dude is a problem, more so than a king, more so than a priest.
Well, there's a dichotomy at work there, Sid. Number one, I think you're right. Number one, it is some dynamic women out there that have, man, just been holding it down. Yep, they've been let down, put down, thrown down. And for some, they're doing the best that they can do. But you think about that. You touched on it. Some man somewhere injured them. Some man walked out. Some man broke their heart. And, you know, they've been working overtime to recover. They've been working overtime to heal. And certainly, you know, the longer that they're single and the longer that they're acquiring, that, you know, they could do bad all by themselves, but then you have instant gratification. Every decade after the 60s produced a type of man that is so foreign to a godly man that they are forced to hold on to their role as being the leader of their home, because we, quite frankly, en masse, we haven't shown them enough to give them a reason to submit. I mean, instant gratification, laziness has just robbed some men of some vitality. You know, you have some men that are just so lazy. I mean, we look at a video game age right now where men will play, they'll stay home and take care of the children, unmarried, shack up, play video games. They're the daycare provider. I call them house pets. When they got to be let outside for recreation, they have no authority. She has to feed them. That's the byproduct of generation of male failure. This is what we've morphed into. Now, we cure that when real, authentic overcomers decide, I'm going to go back and reclaim manhood by sharing the gospel, person to person, man to man. I don't think there's a woman out there that would resist relinquishing her role that she thinks is a dual role. I don't think that there's a woman out there that would resist giving back that role if she found a man that had integrity, that had some honor, that had some work ethic, that had some vision. All this is curable by simply following the gospel. I'm the least likely person in America to become anything, let alone a pastor, a couple degrees, a good corporate America resume. Man, look, I come from nothing. I'm a former homeless kid who had no vision about manhood until I found my father at age 15. But then I watched a man who worshiped his way into prosperity, who loved his wife, honored his children. That was a template. I made a choice on my own to leave that house and go out and live in a world of instant gratification, of fashion, money, promiscuity, all the things, rebellion, the prodigal son role. But I also found that when God called me back into the light from the dark, in order for me to grow, I had to change. And the more I morphed into a man of God, man, I was able to meet my wife. And marriage has taught me, my wife has not challenged me on my role as a man, but she's challenged me to be a better man. Never challenged me on my role as a man, but she's motivated me to be a better man. That's what they can do. Are you with me?
I lost you for a second. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. So
I lost you. Can't hear you.
anyway, you just got a little technical thing going on there. Okay, Bishop. Just live. When you're going live, things like that happen, brother. No big deal. No big deal.
I'm good.
All right. We're all good. We're all good. Hey, while we got that quick break, let's go ahead and give you contact information again while we got that moment.
Life Quest, located at the corner of Neeland and Fisk, 1050 Fisk. I can be reached at lifequestgroup@aol.com. You can hit me on social media, Jerry Bishop. I can even be text messages to 616-540-9553. I'm approachable. I'm reachable. I'm in touch. I'm available. All somebody has to do is reach out and want to set up an appointment, have a dialogue on social media, inbox me, email me. My mailing address is 1050 Fisk, 49506. I do a lot of letter writing to guys in the joint or do JPay, so feel free to reach out to me.
And I encourage all of our listeners all over the world, because we do put this on YouTube and iTunes and all that, Pastor. So we want to make sure they know we're Grand Rapids, Michigan, and you've got a link there, a man who we believe you ought to reach out to. Get in touch with Pastor Jerry Bishop. The man is in the trenches. He's making it happen. So if we could give, the women out there that are working 2 jobs and trying to be a mother, and she's feeling that pain, that stress. She's got the world on her shoulders. Okay, she's trying everything possible, but then she got the little dude or dudes, and she's trying to make the best out of the situation. She knows how she got there. She knows what happened before, but she's here now, and she's trying to make it happen, and she's trying to get this dude to act right and be somebody by herself. What do you recommend?
Well, first of all, I want to commend. I know some great women that are single mothers for whatever reason, by promiscuity, divorce.
But they're great women.
And I know, there's some great women. As an example, I pastor some great women. I've sat in ministry with some great women. I love women.
Yeah.
Man, I got some dynamic women in my home. My daughter's a great mother. Mm-hmm. My wife's a great wife, a great mother. My mom. But for me, and I'm not trying to be preachy, not trying to be churchy, because it's not in me. But worship changes everything. The worship component is so important that it begins to remake us and it begins to fortify all the fractures. It becomes the calcification to the breaks to our heart, our bones. And not only does it change your heart, but it changes your mind. I've watched women that have been desperate and full of despair, check to check, house to house, just barely missing addiction each month, guys coming in and out of their life. I've seen some dynamic women give their whole heart to the Lord, realize that, just like he said in Jeremiah 29:11, that he had a plan for their life. But then a couple verses down from there, how they'll find him only when they seek him with all their heart. I've watched them so turn it around that, first of all, brokenness and despair will jade a female to the point where she can't, for a while, see any good in a man. But it also, being out of worship, doesn't allow her oftentimes to see some great guys. I mean, we live in an era now where everybody either wants an athlete, a rapper, or somebody with, a Brinks truck full of money right out the gate. And they overlook these good-looking, hard-working, dedicated guys that might be a blue-collar worker making some good money, but he's not fly. This worship component is so profound that when this woman gets on her knees, understand that's God's daughter. I personally, I'm not going to probably be theologically correct, but I absolutely believe that God has a significantly more sensitive piece in his being for his daughter, that if she would cry out to him, Lord, help me to help my son, that just like when Jabez, laying on his little straw bed, cried out, Lord, bless me, I absolutely believe that God would send her Boaz. But it's going to have to take a change. Trouble only lasts always if you keep doing it your way. Man, I've seen some women in 1 year go from welfare and Section 8 housing to owning a home and working a job, meeting a man, finding men that would shape her son, from mentoring programs, various pastors, introducing him to guys like yourself and others like church, like Floyd Tucker and others that are available. They're just looking for somebody to occupy the space, spend some time, and watch them emulate. We'll emulate the things that we spend the most time with. So if she's not in worship, she's not seeking the direction of God, man, she's going to run into a bunch of these frauds. It pains me to see what the media has painted for what the office of a man is. I look at a little imp like Lil Wayne. Mm-hmm. That is a poor representation of any part of the male gender. You look at a bunch of these other characters. But then I look at how God fearfully and wonderfully made Barack Obama. Others. Worship is going to be the catalyst to her change in helping her son. That's it, Sid.
Those great words. Great words. Let me ask you, I want to dig just a little bit on this. I know that you don't have all night, but I want to just dig a little bit on this because I like to get myself in trouble on this show. So, Pastor, I'm 100% man, and I concur with you with that. 100% man. But nowadays, that's just like, you're supposed to be whispering that. Other cats can get out and do parades and run up and down the street and hoop and holler to the point where men supposed to be, backing up from the whispering, cowering down. But if a man says, no, I'm proud to be a man, 100% man, that's something taboo nowadays. That's like, against the whole cultural shift. So in light of that, and we go back to the beginning of what you were saying as far as how hard it is to fulfill, to move into the office and to handle that role, especially nowadays, right? So how in the world does she then transform if she's already taking all of the roles herself in that home, she's paying the bills, she's doing all the work. I'm just trying to dig a little deeper on this. And then her young son is watching her do the quote unquote office work. So she's supposed to say what? Don't follow me. Don't be like me. Of course, like you said, he's going to emulate who he sees. So he sees everything that mama does, how she walks, how she talks, how she might, her emotions, how she's, her body language when she talks. And then so we see little man, that's how he starts to talk. That's how he starts to walk. Play some music and he dancing like he see mama dance. How can he become distracted, let's say, from what mama's doing to see some different vision of a man that would do things completely different than what he's emulating already? How does he now transfer? You see where I'm trying to go with this? If he's watching her and she's doing everything.
She's a lot more in the driver's seat than she thinks she is. And even, first of all, you talk about the emulation. That's a very valid point. You have a lot of young men whose gender roles are confused. Not all, but their gender roles are confused because they've spent so much idle time around nothing but women. Now, number one, that's an indictment that where's that man at, number one. I'm going to go back to what I said earlier. See, in worship will compel a woman, number one, to do the right thing. Number two, a lot of the bitterness is caused from a broken heart. The ensuing actions out of that broken heart, the bitterness, the anger, being not available, if you would, mentally, physically. Man, when a person begins to say out of Psalms 51:10, Lord, create in me a clean heart, renew in me a right spirit. She then only wants to do the right thing simply because, I have there's a card that I handed out, like I handed out at Bible study tonight. And there's 4 components on this card. And in the backdrop, it says consistent. Number one, consistent in worship, consistent in prayer, consistent in serving, consistent in giving. On the first two are the catalyst to profound areas of change that's needed to correct hundreds and thousands of years of sin. The worship piece, the prayer component. This is reversed. We can reverse the curse simply by getting in right standing with God. That is the key to changing the dynamics to all this role confusion. And you're right. It's amazing, man. As an example, since you want to stir the pot a little bit, this last 15 months, the most demonic move in the country is Black Lives Matter. And I challenge anybody that's listening to go to their website and to substantiate what I'm saying, that their goal had nothing to do with aiding the fallen black lives by police officers. In fact, it was geared towards infusing gay rights into civil rights. And through the component, the 12 points or 10 points on their website, they talk about the dismantling of the nuclear family, how they would like to remove the words father from the equation. Things have to be gender neutral. Sin creeps in and causes confusion because its father is the author of confusion. Mm-hmm. Worship changes everything. I don't even have to argue about Black Lives Matter once I turn people to their website. And when they begin to look at the components of what Black Lives Matter says Black Lives Matter stands for, it is demeaning to the office of a man. And to the point where, in just a moment here, I'm going to talk about those covenants that is a part of the guiding principles, if you will, of Black Lives Matter. It's profound in how it's dismantling the office of a man. You know, when you talk about the village, for example, it says we're committed. This is off the Black Lives Matter website. It says we are committed to disrupting the Western prescribed nuclear family structure requirement by supporting each other as extended families and villages that collectively care for one another, especially our children, to the degree that mothers, parents, and children are comfortable. No mention of a father. No mention of a father. How can you reduce the role of a father? This is, under their other heading, is we're committed to building a Black woman affirming space free of sexism, misogyny, and male-centeredness. It's an attack on the office of a man. We see ourselves as part of the global Black family, and we are aware of the different ways we're impacted or privileged as Black folk who exist in different parts of the world. You know, when you begin to look at what's going on, and then even to the point of this is just disturbing in itself. We're committed to fostering a queer affirming network.
What?
When we gather, I'm reading off their website. When we gather, we do so with the intention of freeing ourselves from the tight grip of heteronormative thinking, or rather the belief that all in the world are heterosexual.
Wait a minute.
Go to their website.
I'm
reading from their page. I'm reading from their page.
Wow.
Now, it's not fashionable to be a man.
Wow.
That's why we need to love our women to the degree that they can trust us. We have to ask God to help us with our integrity so we can display trust. We can be counted on. It's important. There's never been a fight like there's been a fight now than to destroy the role of a man in his home. I'm polarized, and we're committed to disrupting the Western prescribed nuclear family structure requirement. Tell me that that's not an indictment.
Well, I mean, I've got to say, Pastor, that you hit me with one tonight, because I hadn't seen those words on the website, and obviously I know you to be, an honorable, trustworthy man. So I'm taking it.
I'm
full
reading
strength.
off their website.
I'm taking it full strength. That's why I'm saying. I mean, whether I've seen it or not, I'm taking it from you, and I'm saying, wow, that's just, though I hadn't seen it. I mean, it's like I'm seeing it just by listening to you, and my response is, wow, it's unbelievable that, I mean, when it said that queer hookup, advocating to basically keep that, promote that, then, I mean, it's right there.
I'm going to say that again.
Yeah.
We are committed to fostering a queer affirming network. When we gather, we do so with the intention of freeing ourselves from the tight grip of heteronormative thinking, or rather the belief that all in the world are heterosexual unless he, she, are, or they disclose otherwise.
See, this is where we're at with, whether or not, if you have a perception, that you're just supposed to be talking about the crazy shootings that are going on, the lack of justice, which I know you yourself are a part of trying to rally people and help people to see that, the injustice that's going on. So then that's the perception. That's how they've been branded. And then to hear they have another agenda going on just makes it part of this, other society.
Well, how about this? This is another one of their guiding principles. I'm reading off their website. We are committed to embracing and making space for trans brothers and sisters to participate and lead. Now, there's not even an initiative for heterosexual men to participate and lead. And if there were, we would be labeled as what do they call it, chauvinist. It says, we're committed to being self-reflective and doing the work required to dismantle cisgender privilege. Wow.
Yeah, wow.
Wow.
Man. Yeah, for real. For real. So the way I'm taking it is it's coming from all angles, and that leaves it as like you say, a full assault, and which is why this topic is, just so important. And we're so honored that you're here, because how do these young boys, I mean, I can easily see jumping on and saying, hey, there's a Black Lives Matter, rally on parade, get into it. I could easily see young brothers saying, well, that's for me. I'm supposed to be a part of that because I'm against what some law enforcement officers are doing, abusing their power, what some of them are doing. So I'm going to jump on that and fight for that, because it's wrong. Cats getting shot up and all that, and can't get trials, and Walter Scott, Keith Scott, the whole nine, right? And then you find out, oh no, what we really about is breaking up your hookup so that you don't have, you're not honoring manhood anymore. That's what we're really about. I mean, that's a shakeup.
Man, listen, I'm telling people, sin has destroyed the thinking of mankind to the point where we don't even follow the operations manual of our own gender code. And then you know what? I feel sorry, and I apologize on behalf of every man. I feel sorry for any woman that's been hurt, abused, left in the trenches, and on behalf of any of us that have done it, because certainly most of us have taken part in that kind of abuse. Breaking hearts, breaking homes. And the integrity needs to be restored in order for submission to be honored. Why would a woman want to submit to a man if a man is not displaying honor and integrity?
Mm-hmm. How
could she? Most women that are broken and bitter raise up broken and bitter children.
Let's talk quantitative for a second, Pastor. So if we know it to be true that we don't have a large pool for these sisters who our heart goes out to them. I mean, this is not an indictment upon the great women in the world that are suffering and doing double duty. At least they're trying to. Okay, so we're trying to support that. But their pool to pick from, to receive from, you and I both know it's a small pool. Okay, so
ever shrinking.
Yeah,
shrinking.
Thank you. So what do we say directly to her? And I hear your response on worship, and I'm not asking you to back up from that. I mean, you put it clear. That's where you're at with it. Okay, I hear that. But if we could say something in the midst of she's going through her day to day, and maybe she already has that video game dude there who's the father of one of her children, let's say. I'm just trying to paint a picture. How does she begin to shake that up if she's already wrapped in and she doesn't see where the other pool is even at? Because it's so small, it's so esoteric, it's so removed from her that, she just sees where she's at. She just sees where she's at. But she's listening to you right now. Where does she begin?
Well, first of all, there has to be a desire to change. There has to be a desire to explore what's right. Now, that's twofold. Number one, if we would stop giving up on people, as an example, I'm thanking God some godly men grabbed a hold of my life and refused to let me go, to the point where they gave me a source of vitality and integrity and vision and purpose to emulate, to seek God on my own. Now, the same can be said for some of these great godly women. If we would stop being churchy and make ourselves more available to the segments of our respective audiences that are hurting, Man, let me tell you something. Everybody wants to emulate success. But there's no greater success to emulate than the person that has a life that's submitted to the Lord. And I'm not saying this to be preachy because I didn't come out of the church background. I wasn't a church kid. But the moment that godly men grabbed my life and showed me an alternative to bad, man, I wanted to keep growing. So she's got to avail herself, number one, to correction, avail herself to growth. But Sid, it goes back to the platform I started this diatribe with. It all begins with worship. Everything begins with worship. Change is facilitated with prayer on the backbones of worship.
Does she have to be careful? Does she have to be careful? And I'm saying this with all respect, because, as you say, that pool is ever shrinking. And just like you just hit us with that Black Lives Matter, Pastor, that she, we may be thinking it's one way and it's another way. So if we tell her to run into the church, but we're not necessarily directing her which church, right?
Right.
Or we're telling her to run into these men who say, hey, I want to plan into your son, but they may have these other motives. I'm getting to a point here where we have, I'm trying to protect the best we can the women who are really trying to make it happen. Okay. And I don't want us to leave them with their guard down simply because they went into the church.
Correct.
If you could properly, if you could say it in such a way where we're going to go for the good stuff, we're looking for that good role model for your son. We want the iron to sharpen the iron, but in your own way, she still needs to be alert that there still could be some people who have different motives when she walks through that church door, that she still needs to make sure that she's looking out for herself and for her family.
And well, certainly someone that, I've never seen nearly as much opposition for forward progress as I've seen when I made a decision that I was going to live for Christ, in Christ. Now, man, let me tell you something. There are wolves in sheep's clothing everywhere.
Right.
And certainly, unfortunately, the church has got more of a negative connotation for having more wolves than the world, which is absolutely not true. But it goes to show to the level of brokenness that people are easily duped by wolves in sheep's clothing. There again comes when brokenness walks through the doorway on Sunday morning. The veterans then see the sheep and ought to be nurturing them to the point so that they're not left alone. They're not just walking through the mangers by themselves, walking through that valley in the shadow of death. And when we walk with people and we pray with them, let me tell you something. There's nothing more healthier than a godly woman that's been an overcomer, that is an overcomer. When she begins to mentor, when she begins to disciple, when she begins to show her pledge how to pray, how to seek God's face. See, the one thing we have to stop doing is expecting that we can do it on our own. That broken, seeking, struggling, angry, hurt young woman, young mother, she has to become interdependent on God while she's dependent on God. She has to submit to him and allow him to do what he needs to do. But at the same time, there's some veterans that need to come and walk alongside some of these babes in Christ and let them know, oh, by the way, baby, that's a wolf over there. That's not a sheep. Mm-hmm. And begin to speak to them wolves. And if you and I would teach them to stop leaning on their own understanding, you cannot get into prosperity, into health, into wellness on your own. But at the same time, we got to avail ourselves so they don't have to do it alone. That is critically important.
Pastor, please make sure everybody has your contact information. I am just, overwhelmed with the nuggets that you're dropping on us tonight. And I want people to know that they can reach out to you and that you are available. Ladies and gentlemen, Pastor Jerry Bishop is one of those that is not just talking the talk. He's walking the walk. And
I appreciate that, Sid. They can get me at lifequestgroup@AOL.com. They can get me on social media under my name, or they can text me at 616-540-9553.
There you go. We want you to get in touch with Pastor Bishop before he's got to be writing your sons, which he does, in prison, etc. We want to get him young. Is that right?
That's right. As young as possible.
Yeah, so that we can train it, and put the right seed in them earlier than later. How you doing over there, Doc? Yeah, Pastor, I gotta tell you that this right here is an amazing moment, and I think that emphatically what we're saying is that it's a tough road for our women out there, and we know that our hearts go out to them. So maybe we have to just offer the path to them over and over, be available like you said, let them know that there are men out here who are willing and prepared to try to help, to bridge the gap, but she's going to have to also make herself available to the path. I'm hearing you say that she has to be willing to make that change in her own life to be available. So you can't just say, I don't need them. I don't need, right? Because that's that independent thing to that degree. And that's the first time we brought that word up, but I think it's a key to maybe why the search wasn't there until started having to go up to the school because he keeps getting in trouble. Well, what's wrong? Why does he keep getting suspended? Why does he keep getting in fights? What's going on? What's all this acting out? But for the first few years, I don't need, and now, okay, well, everybody's been pushed away. Because you said you had it. Now you need. So we have to have a bridge for her where she can feel like, she doesn't have to break down. We still honor you, but you do need. You need that assistance. And unfortunately, there's not enough of us that have been given what we should be given. So I can feel where there's an abandonment, there's an anger. There are a lot of issues there because we shouldn't have left it in the situation that we did to begin with. Where do we go from here as a society, as ethnic, as a race, quote unquote? Where do we go from here to stop the young cats from shooting each other? Where do we go to have some economic strength where we're coming together? Where do we go from there where it's cool again to be a man? Versus you can't talk that way, or it's okay that everybody just do whatever they want to do. Where do we have to draw the line again and stand on it?
Well, first of all, we have to identify that this battle among the genders is a sickness. That we are sick. This is a sickness. It's a sickness that 8, 9, and 10-year-old boys have machinations of wanting to be a woman. I'm certainly not. I'm not homophobic in any capacity. The gospel compels us to. The Apostle Paul was talking to the church.
What does that even mean? What does that even mean? I mean, really? I mean, I'm pretty well studied, but what's the point? I mean, what is homophobic anyways? Because I'm a proud man and I stand on what I stand on. You know what I mean? Because I'm 100% man. I mean, what is that?
That's the attack on. That if I'm firmly entrenched as a man,
that somehow now I'm homophobic.
100% sold out. That now I'm homophobic.
There's a syndrome, right? There's a syndrome attached to me just saying I'm 100% man. But a woman can say she's 100% woman. That doesn't make her homophobic.
Right. Well, but again, that's that sickness. The Apostle Paul was talking to the church of Galatia. He says, do good to all people. Man, I love all people, man. And this sickness that we have will begin to subside if one of the most overquoted but under submitted to scriptures is found in 2 Chronicles 7:14. And it's my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways. Then I'll hear from heaven and forgive their sin and I'll heal their land. Bro, it's a profound level of sickness. And people are refusing to go to the right source of healing. And it's just spinning further and further and further out of control. I mean, and one of the most profound statements that is tattooed itself to my spiritual life, the Apostle Paul was talking to his mentee, Timothy. And he's reminding him in 2 Timothy in chapter 3, hey, it's just like like an older cat sitting with somebody at King Park. He says, know this, that in the last days perilous times will come. For men shall be lovers of their own selves, covetous, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unholy, unthankful, without natural affection, truce breakers, traitors, high-minded, lovers of pleasure more than lovers of God. Mm-hmm. It's all this is reversible through simply going home, going back to worship, finding our first love. There's no healing to any of this. It gets deeper. The chasm gets wider. The pus gets stinkier. The longer that you and I and others try to handle this without God, without submitting, without saying, Lord, help me to help my son. Help me to be a better man. Lord, help me to be a better woman. There is no recovery. It just replicates itself and it replicates itself and goes on and goes on and goes on.
Let me ask you a question real quick. I do see that Mike Cleanscales chimed in and he says hello and he enjoying the conversation. He agreed with your Black Lives Matter statement, so that was on.
Yeah, I
love
Mike, so give him some dap for me.
No doubt. And just practically speaking, just a straight question: if her baby daddy, quote unquote, is quote unquote not that dude, he's not doing the right things. Okay, he's not. But he wants to spend time with his son. If she lets him spend the time, she knows that he's going to be in a jacked up environment. But that's his dad. In those types of situations that you face, what's your general counsel?
Well, first of all, number one, I'm going to be, that's such a norm now. That is such a norm that that's the other part of our sickness. Number one, I don't believe in withholding children from their parents at all, especially sons being with their fathers. But the profound level of attention that the Lord has to the detail of somebody's prayer. See, we want to fix this kind of stuff through programs and court orders and mediation. Man, if this dude is sorry, if he's not doing the right thing, he's probably not had a template to how to do the right thing, how to parent, how to take his son to the bookstore, how to walk, how to teach him proper etiquette. Okay, I get that. I don't know about you, but nobody ever gave me a handbook on how to be a father. I didn't get that. It's not like when I turned 14, I went to the library, I showed up at school, and somebody gave me a book. Hey, here's fatherhood. But let me tell you something. I'd sick the Lord on that guy and say, Lord, help my son's father be a better father. We think this is just hocus pocus. We think that this is just preacher talk and church language. there's some supernatural intervention that comes when that daughter gets on her knees and say, Lord, my son needs his father to be the best man he can be. Would you help him? Would you she could lay hands on her son and say, Lord, I want to plead the blood over my son as he goes to visit with his father today. Lord, send an example of godliness into that father's life. Lord, speak into his life. See, we want to dismiss all the supernatural change that happens through that prayer and worship. And now we create social programs that are not faith-based when the only thing that's going to change this is faith. Man, I'm only for withholding a child from danger, abuse, and neglect. But some of these, man, I see a lot of young guys that, they're not on anybody's A-list socially, but man, these young guys are coming to my gymnasium, illiterate, smoking weed. But you know who they're bringing? They're bringing their son to the gym. They're walking in. They're doing the best they know how. That's where you and I and others, man, I didn't just wake up one day and start getting an award for being a father. I didn't know nothing about being a father. And I'm sure in the early years I was probably sorry. But change comes, well, number one, we pray for that change. But we can't discount the opportunity that a young man is going to look into his son's eyes and say, man, I got to be a better father. You know, we create such a divide in fatherhood that if he ain't paying the right amount of money, buying the right colored Jordans, or because he is smoking weed, he is drinking, I'm not for any of that. But at the same time, how is he supposed to change when there's no example of change in front of him? What, do we wait until he's 40? Then he's had 0 to 40 of missed time with his own son? You and I have to do a better job. That's what we have to do a better job of.
Right.
Other men have to do a better job.
Right. How do you feel about the whole friend of the court situation? I know it's a cuts on both sides, but just how do you feel about that in general? And then do you feel like that's also part of the division? You know, the housing regulations for women on assistance, and the dude can't be there. The whole thing. What do you think about the impact of that on relationships?
I'm very involved in this last year in some tearing down some friend of the court initiatives. Now, unfortunately, most young men are not guided and mentored in a capacity to avoid the court system. And the court system is what it is. It's a friend of itself. The friend of the court is not a friend of the family, even though in their handbook, it says that, they're the benefit, seeking the primary benefit of the child. The friend of the court is seeking the primary benefit of themselves. And when you look at the enormous amount of fees that are collected per case, it can clearly be established that they are a profit entity. Now, as an example, I'm not for enabling poor parenting. Man, let me tell you something. I know what it's like to be in the friend of the court system. But at the same time, men have to step up and take care of their responsibilities. A lot of men end up in the friend of the court system because of the bitterness of that child's mother. Some men have to be in the friend of the court because they're so irresponsible economically that they're not helping out. So it's a two-edged sword. It'd be better if they didn't have children at all. Now, of course, we know that that's not realistic where sin abounds. But the friend of the court is not set up to benefit anybody but themselves. And man, I deal with a lot of young men on a weekly basis, and their ideology is if they can't see their son for whatever reason, the first thing they want to do is, well, I'm gonna march down, man. I'm gonna get child support on myself. not realizing what they've done is they set themselves up for 18 years to be on parole. And it shouldn't take the friend of the court to make a man want to go home and take care of his son. And then there's a misnomer that, especially with young mothers that are on aid, that they're going to get any of that child support because the first responsibility of money's paid is that money collected is going to pay back the state benefits. And all this, you can go through a friend of the court handbook to substantiate what I'm saying. But see, I'm all for staying out of the court system. Well, of course, we know some men are not going to do what they're supposed to do. Some women, and I think, again, people think that because a man is in the front of the court system that he's done something wrong. We carry each other down in that capacity. We put a stigmata on guys that is simply just not true. The vast majority of men that are fathers in America are respectable fathers. They're not just weekend dads. And I see it played out at LifeQuest when guys are bringing sometimes 2 or 3 children to the gym. You can bring them walking in with their kids after working third shift.
That leaves a great moment for us to bring in a chat that we also received, again, from Brother David Clinkscales, our brother. So he writes, "Gentlemen, please address, quote-unquote, good men being taken advantage of in a relationship, i.e., doing the yard work, housework, dressing the children, getting them to and from school, etc., while the spouse minimizes the maternal role." For Brother David Clinkscales for you.
Well, first of all, I know some brothers that are operating at a high capacity in that role. Again, man, people have to be careful who they pick to decide to have a family with, to get married with, to link up with. People don't just wake up one day and they're sorry and lazy. They don't just wake up one day with these conditions, this sickness. It's perpetually there. And typically, we're not good judges of character when we're in sin. She's fine, so I got to have her. She's so fine that I'm not going to investigate what kind of value system she comes from, whether her mother knew how to take care of her home, whether her mother honored the office of a man, if her mother could cook, clean, worship, adore, nurture. And so some people get what they get because they don't listen to the Lord. They don't bother to listen to reason. They're going to do whatever by any means necessary to bag that guy or that female. And, in marriage, hey, love is patient, love is kind, long-suffering, doesn't brag, doesn't boast. There's no 2 good days, 2 days that are just alike in marriage. None. Okay, that's where, I'm preaching a series right now called Enduring Faith. Worship will teach you how to endure this. But, people run out, they get married, no counseling. They don't listen. So they marry somebody that's diametrically opposed to their value system. I have to tell them they get what they got. Quite frankly, that's it. They get what they got.
Is there ever a point when it's too late, Pastor? Is there ever a point when...
Say that again?
Is it ever a point when it's too late where we allowed the dude to just get so far out of pocket that, he can't be brought in? Is it ever too late?
Hold on here, Sid. I'm plugging my phone in.
No problem.
I don't think that nobody is beyond recovery. But how do they recover if we don't go get them? Nobody should be left out to die. People are only left out to die because we don't go get them. We don't go help. We don't go nurture them. Now, I am who I am, not because I'm somebody, because I did something so great. No. Other people did great things for me. And I had men telling me directly that I was sorry and I was lazy and I was shiftless and I had no vision. And they said, they would challenge me. I mean, if I wanted to, in order to be around them, I had to modify. I had to change. They talked to me like a man. Now, I mean, I never got a participation trophy on being a man. You get a ribbon just to show up. We have to be willing to listen, to get our feelings hurt, to get our hands smacked, to get talked crazy to, if that's going to wake us up. Now, I'm not into, breaking guys' spirit, but I am absolutely not into enabling a guy to perpetually fail. And I'm pretty hard on guys. I'm a very direct guy. That's because I seen I was heading to nowhere till one man stepped up. And it wasn't even my father. And my father was a great guy. But I wasn't listening to his example of hard work. 16 hours a day in the factory. Face in his Bible when he came home. Mowing the lawn. Going to sports game. I wasn't honoring that. It took a man to look at me and say, man, you got a lot of potential, but you're going to go nowhere in life until you change. And look me in the eyeballs and wasn't afraid of it. And you know what? Sit until I changed. Every time he seen me, he said the same thing. He was consistently on my butt to change. We have to be consistently on the ass of a man to change, to read, study, pray, to do better. Not just pull yourself up by the bootstraps, because most of us didn't have a pair of boots to pull up on. Mm-hmm. But with I got a lot of young men. I'm grateful that they're enamored to be around. We talk about it, iron sharpens iron. I'm telling young men all the time, listen, there's some things you're going to have to do to modify to be around me. You got to be on time. You got to be sober. You got to be willing to listen. And I'm uncompromising. Greatness is uncompromised. Only in this last 35 years of manhood are we now taking a sissy type approach where now we got to be soft and we got to be gentle. You got to be talked to a certain way. You got to be stroked. Mm-hmm. You got to be coddled.
Let's keep it 100. Let's keep it 100 right there, Pastor. That how are the mothers? And I know that I'm using a broad brush, and I know there are exceptions to every rule. But when you're talking to one of these boys that way, and mama's around, is she cringing? Is she saying, "Don't be talking to my son like that"?
Well, I'd say if you got 10 boys, 10 young men, 8 of them are like, "I'm cool with that," but you'll get 2 that are so controlling, and they change once their son goes in jail. That they change when he's got shot. They've changed when their attitude changes when they look into the casket of their son that wouldn't listen because you was the personification of feminism on his life. I'm going to be very graphic. There's a term that I use in some of my workshops with young men, that there's a movement in America that some of us call the pussification of men. That we're making them intentionally soft because we don't want to return them to manhood. And it's on the hands of unrelenting women that want to baby their sons. It's a sickness that, that they're weak, they're feeble, they won't work. That's that whole thing about you can't tell some women anything about how to raise their sons. They think they know what it's like to be a man.
I had a thought, Pastor, and I want to get your opinion on it. Let's say it's only 20%, like you're saying, that have this backlash. Let's just say it's a 20%. It may be higher, but let's say it's 20%. So for those 20%, sometimes I think that she's looking at that dude in the house, her young son, and she knows that physically that boy is about to be stronger than she is physically. And I think sometimes certain women do that, whether it's conscious or subconscious, to defend herself, that she robs him of that bark. But now, part B of my thought. With her daughter, if her daughter puts her hand on her hip and tells somebody off and shakes her head and blah, blah, she might say, go on, girl, tell him. Stay.
I lost you again. You there?
I think we got it again. So if it's the daughter there, she'll pump that up, right, pastors? And you don't let them tell you, like, don't let them talk to you like that. Don't let nobody, okay. But with the dude, she's doing this whole soft thing, baby thing. And again, if we're saying it's only 20%, let's just say it's 20% of the mothers, okay. So she's creating this superstar of a daughter that can handle her business and can't nobody tell her daughter nothing. But she's got this boy who's all sheepy. And I'm thinking part of that is she's reflecting something about her anger towards men, or her desire to control men, or her fear that one day this man could do something to her physically that's in her house. At the same time, her anger, she's putting that into an aggression for her daughter. Your thoughts?
Well, all she's done is replicate her own situation. She's trying to capitalize on gaining ground in the area that she's lost ground in. And again, that's not a value system to be emulating. That just goes to show you how far we are out of real worship. There's no sanctification in that. Man, all that is a chapter out of Love and Hip Hop. That's just a week's episode of the witchcraft that's pervaded through the media about how a woman should articulate and engage with a man. That's just what that is, bro.
Okay, but now wait a minute, Pastor. I mean, I don't have any disagreement with you, but I just want to push you a little bit, but I don't disagree. So out of respect, okay, so if you mention something like love and hip hop, and instead of it being 20%, now 80% of the women know exactly what you're talking about. So why are we feeding ourselves? If that's, you use the word witchcraft, if these are the opposite messages, then why are our mothers who are in this tight spot, who are working so hard and trying so hard, why are they feeding themselves those examples?
Well, first of all, it goes back to the point where we're so far out of worship that we cannot hear God. Faith comes by hearing, hearing by the word of God. So everything that's in our playlist, if it's demeaning us, if it's demeaning the office of a man or demeaning the office of a woman, garbage in, Sid, is garbage out.
Someone else has chimed in on our chant, if you don't mind, Pastor. The question from Loki Bear is, what is a man? We no longer have a rite of passage, and females believe that they are more masculine than the boy toy that sleeps in their own home. So what is a man? Because we no longer have a rite of passage.
Well, first of all, we do have we do have a rite of passage. But again, we have become so passive aggressive. See, I'm advocating that a man simply stand up and be a man. Period. But at the same time, if you and I, David and Mike Cleanscales and Dave Rhodes and others, whoever this caller was, see, if we don't coalesce and galvanize and create forward progress in manhood, there's not going to be any progress. The challenge with that is that you ever figured out that the women are mobilized all the time? They're mobilizing everything because a lot of it, unfortunately, misery loves company. But then flip side of this, there are some extremely down women that are about their business. Okay, we have to stop making excuses. I refuse to adhere to any of the thinking that you just mentioned. On it, we have a rites of passage. We have to exercise. We have the office of a man. We have to operate in it, flat out. We choose not to do that, see, because it's a difficult role.
Well, I think that you've answered that question that was posed. So, again, your contact information, Pastor, we want to make sure everybody knows how to reach you and how to get themselves and their family, especially their young men, involved with the great work that you do.
You can contact me on my email at lifequestgroup@aol.com. You can send me a text message to 616-540-9553. You hit me on Facebook. I'm available, ready to meet. We got a great forum every Thursday morning. We meet for worship on something called Brother to Brother. Every Sunday morning, we meet at 9 o'clock for Man Church, where we chop up the office of a man and what is it like to be a man by what the Lord says. I'm not trying to offer my opinion on the office of a man. I'm offering what the office of a man is by way of what the Lord says. The Lord says that we're made in his image, that we're fearfully and wonderfully made. Until a man believes that he's fearfully and wonderfully made, he will not walk in dominion.
Pastor, why are there so many women in the church? Why are there so many women in the church?
Well, first of all, you look simply by the populace numbers, number one.
And of course, I mean, I'm saying it to those that understand, but I mean, let me say it a little clear in case people don't, they're not in church and whatnot. Let me say it a little clear. In proportion to the men, would be the clear way of putting that thought. But I know you already caught it, but for those that are keeping up with the conversation. So in most churches, especially black churches, African-American churches, the women outnumber the men in general in 2016, 2017. So my question is, why specifically are women overpopulating the men in the church?
Well, we've done such a sorry job historically of going out and raising up men to be worshipers that only in the last 20 years has it become fashionable for I've tried to make it fashionable for men to worship. I've tried to let people know that this is the elixir to their sickness, that this is their aspirin to their heart woe. And the challenge is we don't have enough people advocating that. There can be no community change without worship. That there can be no upward mobility that's sustaining, economic development that is sustaining without worship. But as an example, there are a lot of pastors that are insecure about dominant alpha males in their congregation, instead of really believing that iron sharpens iron. We have to submit to that. This is not just hocus pocus. I mean, I'm very comfortable with who I am. I'm comfortable with my strengths. I'm comfortable with my vast inadequacies. I love being around a company of men, great men. I love getting my irons sharpened.
Right.
That has made me a better guy.
Right.
Be it at the gym, the golf course, at the bookstore, the barber shop. Personally, I use every place I go as a recruitment tool to bring guys into worship. But worship is not fashionable simply because we're trying to reverse the curse of 50 years of men being allowed to just stay home.
So what is the deal? What is the deal, Pastor, with, and I appreciate what you do and that you go out and you advocate. And, I'm on a practical note here. So is it true that in our churches, in the choirs, it's mostly women, and if you do see men in choirs, they have more of those feminine tendencies? Now I know I'm overgeneralizing, but there's a stigma out there in society. I mean, even if you have a movie that's depicting a black church and you see the choir, the dudes that are in there are usually more homosexual-ish. Is that a true depiction? Is that really what's going on? And if so, what should we be doing about that?
Well, I think that there's an overgeneralization of that. I think that, first of all, I can reflect back at the 14 years that I spent serving at Messiah Missionary Baptist Church, okay? Mm-hmm. And if we had, in the male chorus, for example, if we had 40, I'm just using this as an example of some numbers. If we had 25 guys there, maybe one guy exhibited feminine, one guy would have feminine qualities. I think those numbers are trumped up, period. The fact that it's an over dramatized misnomer within the church. But sin is rampant in every capacity. You don't think for a moment that there's a widespread movement of homosexual women in the church? Mm. That's absolutely one of the most growing audiences in the Protestant Church of North America. Mm-hmm. But because they're not desiring to act like a man, dress like a man, not wear makeup, they're holding on to their identity. We're the only ones losing our identity en masse. Makeup, eyeliner. And a lot of that happens simply because of the sin factor. I'm trying to tell you, the gospel, you can nurture anything into change. Anything into change. You can find that throughout Scripture. You can nurture anything into change.
Why would the women hang on to their dress and etc., but have these different orientational habits, but the men do that shifting? Why is that?
Well, I can't speak for that. What I can speak to you is the fact that the attack on the office of a man is so intense that the battle is on his self-worth. That's where the battle is. Because he's not pumped up and told he's fearfully and wonderfully made. He's not loved appropriately. He's not nurtured appropriately. And so the low self-esteem, men begin to hate themselves. They begin to hate what's happened to them. They begin to become super hyper aggressive as it relates to external relationships. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's crazy. I mean, that they want to abandon who they've been made to be, and they end up having sex with who they've been intended to be.
So why is this push right now? In the political world, the legislation, the same-sex bathrooms. Why in the last few years has this been same-sex marriage? Why now? Why is it hitting that mark now?
Well, first of all, I read it earlier that we are in perilous times. We're so out of control as a value system. Anything goes now in terms of church. And that's a horrible term, church. Instead of us trying to be worshipers and follower of Christ, now we're part of an organization that allows for a convoluted value system that has nothing to do with the Savior that we're seeking after. And it's just a total dismantling of a value system that we allow. We now get labeled be it religious zealots if we simply want to live according to the Scriptures. We're religious bigots. We're chauvinists if we begin to live according to the Scriptures. But all of this was foretold in Scripture that in the last days there'd be a great falling away. Man, we've not only fallen away, we've fallen down, and now we've turned the wrath of God into a timeout. Go sit in the corner. We transitioned God from being a loving yet ruthless God to now we've turned him into Santa Claus, some warm, fuzzy figure.
If the church, if that word has such a stigma, why are we still using it?
I try not to use it. I'm trying to, man, listen, I'm trying to break all the misnomers apart, man. You know, the church, we're called the set apart group, the ecclesia group. And it's unfortunate that we're so not embodying what the intention for us were to be. We don't love like we need to love. We don't forgive. We don't nurture. We don't care. And personally, I guess the reason why my passion level is so high is because, you know, the church, not the Lord, but the church at my worst did nothing for me. That as a homeless kid, the church on my block, you could smell the fried chicken through the windows, but do you think they didn't offer any of us homeless kids, the dirty kids, a morsel of food? But when I found Jesus, man, when I began to find out what his hot buttons were, that he loved me, that he cared about me, man, all I asked him to do was, Lord, bless me so I can go bless somebody. Lord, help me to help somebody to avoid the damnation that I grew up in. Well, he began to empower me. And so I've been trying to go again. I'm not a church kid, so I don't have any, unlike yourself, you had a great start in life, you know, came up
No doubt.
in the church per se.
No doubt.
See, I don't have that. So I don't have a preconceived disposition to all the nonsense of church.
Mm-hmm.
And certainly I've been exposed to it over the last 26 years of being in the kingdom. But I've worked very hard to make sure that I am in the set apart group. Don't lump me into a bunch of revival chasing guys. Don't lump me into the stigmata of the pulpit pimp. Don't put me into the mantra that we're not available to serve you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm motivated because I remember what I needed from the church, yet I couldn't get Sid.
Mm-hmm.
And what I do is not rocket science. I tell people all the time, I get too many awards, too many attaboys for doing stuff that we all should be doing. I mean, how complicated is it? How anointed is it to get a basketball, take it to a gymnasium, and start sharing the gospel with people?
You're available.
I don't think that's very complicated.
You're available.
I'm available. But I'm available and was available in the context of you go to where they are.
There it is.
And quite selfishly, Sid, I got to tell you, I'm trying to be to people what I needed somebody to be to me.
Mm-hmm.
I started to think, man, what would have happened with the fact that I got 2 back-to-back consecutive 30s on the ACT, high and drunk, with no structure. I shudder to think what I could have been had the church, per se, nurtured me.
Wow.
Had the church loved me. Had the church, when I was naked, clothed me. When I was hungry, fed me. How about a place to lay my head before I went to live with my father?
Wow.
You know, so I'm hung up personally. I can't speak to everybody else. I'm simply on a mission to be to people what I needed somebody to be to me through the gospel. That's it, plain and simple. And the gospel rebuilt me as a man. I had no idea what it was like to be a man other than I knew how to stand up and pee and fornicate. But then I found it. I found it. I found it through the gospel on how to be a man. Now,
Pastor, if there's a young brother out there right now, I'm sorry to interrupt you. If there's a young brother out there right now who's listening to this and maybe he doesn't have that person, what's your message directly? We've been talking a lot about the women, the mothers, and what directly to that young brother that may be where you were. What do you say to him directly?
I say directly, man, God is listening. He's so in tune to your voice that all you got to do is cry out to him. He's so in tune and loves you so much that all you got to do is say, Lord, I need you. I mean, man, you know, when I stumbled across Jabez in my Bible as a new saint, a new Christian, and I found out how you look at the context of this, Sid. Jabez, the story goes, he was more honored. His name was, that means he was more honorable than his brothers. And he simply, no father around, no mention of his father around, no mention of riches. And he simply says, Lord, bless me. Enlarge my territory. And God responded to that little poor kid who had a bunch of other familial people, some siblings. I imagine him, Sid, in a Middle Eastern, if you will, projects, laying on a straw mattress with not enough to eat. And in the midst of that, he said, Lord, bless me. And the Lord showed up. That was profound for me. And I said, in my infancy as a believer, I said, if he did it for this guy, why won't he do it for me? At my worst, I simply said, Lord, bless me. It was no long, drawn-out courtship. When I didn't date God, I fell in love with him. Flat out. And that's no preacher talk. That's simply what it was. But you got to cry out to him. He's listening. Man, when I was finding through the scriptures, man, that he says, and lo, I'll be with you always. You know, that meant something. Because a lot of us, people walked in and out of our life.
Right.
Coaches, school systems, girlfriends, you know, they walked out of our life. So then there we are. We're left holding the bag. But God stepped up, man. And I tell people all the time, I don't even know how to be churchy. That's probably been a career detriment because I can't even fake it. I just know how to be a real guy that happens to be so in love with Jesus that I'm trying to do everything that he says to do in spite of falling short every day.
Let them know how to reach you there, Pastor.
I can be contacted via email at lifequestgroup@AOL.com. I can also be reached via a text message at 616-540-9553. I can be inbox on Facebook. My name's Jared Bishop, and I'm available, ready. You can catch me most days at 1050 Fisk, corner of Neeland and Fisk, Life Quest. Got a lot of brothers hanging around, guys that like to hoop, want to work out, just need some encouragement. They can come in the mornings. They can hoop every morning other than Friday. They can hoop even on Sunday mornings now, Sid, during the 10 o'clock hour.
Is that right?
Yeah, we got, the whole week is called, during the morning is called Hoop Church. And I had to get over my religious spirit that they just had to be in the sanctuary in spite of the fact that for 4 days a week, they come in and they get a devotional in the gymnasium.
Right.
And for some, that's the seed that they need in order to change.
Right.
And so I was so convicted about 2 weeks ago. I mean, I'm talking about, man, the Lord just made me feel terrible. And he says, if they're good enough to come in Monday through Thursday and get a word,
wow,
hoop,
wow,
why would you not let them in on Sunday? See, he said,
wow.
some people are never going to sit in that sanctuary,
Wow.
but they're going to need to know about it. Sid, I'm driving down the street, man,
That's heavy, Doc.
and I start sobbing. I start sobbing.
That's heavy, Doc. That's heavy.
I'm like, as good as God has been to me, and I missed this revelation, these guys need to be around the gospel. And I'm telling them the gym is closed on Sunday. So I put it out on Facebook that day, and the gym's open. And that day we had 10 or 12 guys. But it's 10 or 12 guys that wouldn't have came to a regular church service.
There it is. There it is.
I sent somebody in the gym that had a well-prepared devotional.
Right.
While I was preaching in the main sanctuary, they went in, everybody sat down like they normally do.
Right.
They gave because it costs $1 to get in.
Okay.
They gave. They sat down, got a devotional. Now, you and I can't make anybody give their life to the Lord or what we call get saved. But, brother, we can plant a whole lot of seeds.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
We can plant a whole lot of seeds.
And we can meet them where they're at.
Yeah, and, Sid, I shudder to think, man, when I first moved here, Paul I. Phillips was the end-all, be-all for urban basketball.
Carry your shoes in.
Yeah, carry your shoes in. But they never offered anything to change your life spiritually. And hundreds of thousands of talented, good-looking, intelligent guys would come in and go over the years it was open.
Mm-hmm.
And man, what could we have done had we planted them seeds in? I wonder what would have happened if at 18, 19, 20, 21, when I was going in there, what kind of change could have been facilitated if somebody dropped Jesus into my mindset? You have to think about it. Hey, brother, I have got to go to bed.
We are honored that you spent this time with us, man, and this is the first, but don't make it be the last. You are welcome here, and we appreciate your time. We appreciate your thoughts. I mean, you have really shared and poured out tonight, and we appreciate that so much, sir. Please, one more time, you give your contact information, please.
Yep, I can be found at LifeQuest at AOL.com. I can be text messages at 616-540-9553. Church is located at 1050 Fisk, corner of Nealon and Fisk, where I can be hit on social media, on Facebook. I'm also on Instagram, and I'll do a whole lot with it, but I'm on Facebook underneath my name. Sid, has been an honor, a pleasure. You and I got a tight relationship. I appreciate all the greatness that you have. I believe that you are definitely on to something, that the Lord has directed you on this platform. Hold its course, walk slow, stay faithful, seek his face, and call me if you need me, all right?
I received that. Thank you so much, Doc. One love. Be safe. We
All right, God
appreciate
bless
you.
Man.
Thank you so much.
You bet. All right, bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, Pastor Jerry Bishop. I got to tell you, that was an honor. That was an honor, and really took the conversation to entirely different levels. I mean, we went one way, and it just got deeper and deeper and deeper. I would encourage you to re-listen and share. All of the programs will be on demand, iTunes and YouTube. Put in the Sydney Road Show, and just share this one. Share this one with your family and friends and your sons, your husband, and sisters. I hope that you could hear our respect and support of you. This was not an attack, at all on the women. We know that you're doing a tough job, and we feel the indictment that there's so much that we should have been doing to not have you in that spot. But maybe this one's not over, right? So we're going to keep on pushing, because we've got to support you in different ways. And, maybe we can do better if we take the charge. And as Pastor Jerry Bishop has led us to know of our office, our responsibility, the awesome responsibility It's time to step up. It really is. How else are we going to get there? How else are we going to get there? We'll be right back. The Sidney Rhodes Show. Facebook, Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. Follow us at Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. The Sidney Rhodes Show. You're on the right road with the Sidney Rhodes Show. Shh. Have you heard? You ain't hear about that. Did you hear? Who told you? That Increased Solution LLC is making a 24/7 network? Come on now. Well, what about the Sidney Rhodes Show? Oh, Sidney Rhodes Show is still going to be from 9 to midnight, though. Oh, okay, because, you don't be tripping. Sidney Rhodes Show is still from 9 to midnight. Okay. But, you mean all those other hours, 24/7, need to be filled? Which means cats they can have their own show? You tripping. Are you serious? Or they can be guests on other shows? So you mean if you had a talent or idea or something you want to do, you got a chance right here to reach the world? Come on, man. What's the catch? What? All they gotta do is get at you on Facebook? Facebook, Sidney J. Rhodes Jr.? So wait a minute, what kind of topics? I mean, what, they could do what? Relationships, religion, news, education, health, race, business development, entertainment, empowerment, what? All of that? And whatever else? What? All they gotta do is get at you? What you trying to say? That if they want to get out there, they can get out there. This their chance. For real, though? For real, they just go Facebook, Sidney J. Rhodes Jr., send you a message and be like, hey, this is something I want to do. And then if it's good, it's good. Is that what you're trying to say? For real? Man, that sounds all right. That's kind of cool. All right. Nah, I'm with that. I ain't going to hold you up with that. All right. Facebook, Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. Okay. All right. I might try to have a show. That's all right. Well, wait. What if I got a product or a service, something I just want to advertise to the world? I could Facebook, Sidney J. Rhodes Jr., and I can hook up and try to get that too? Man, that's all right. Oh, man, go on, man. That's cool, man. All right. No, I ain't gonna hate. I like it. 24/7 network. All right, helping people, giving some good perspectives, having people think about things, man, and some entertainment too, man. That's hot. All right, I'm cool. That'll work. The Sidney Rhodes Show. Facebook, Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. Follow us at Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. The Sidney Rhodes Show. You're on the right road with the Sidney Rhodes Show. Why do this, Sidney Rhodes Show? Well, it's not about whether or not, we have all the answers. I think it's a collaborative effort. I think that there are a lot of brilliant people in the world, and this is a point, a critical point in history. And if we can circle the wagons round, if we can bring the people together to think about the concepts and look at things from a different angle, different perspective, look deeper, I mean, it's possible that we can help somebody. It's possible that we can create better structures, towards a more perfect union. You dig? I mean, so I really, I throw out a lot of questions, because I really want people to think. And, sometimes I just, I believe there's a utility to just allowing some things to be questioned, just that First Amendment right, just allow it to be questioned, and then if it's the truth, let it be the truth, I mean, if it stands, let it stand. If not, then we got work to do. You feel me? I think we owe it to ourselves. We owe it to our future. We owe it to our children to get to the truth and then stand on that. That's the Sidney Rhodes Show, So I invite people from all different perspectives, with respect. We put it up. We put it to the test. That's what we do, Sidney Rhodes Show. And that's why we do what we do, Gotta love it. Sidney Rhodes Show. The Sidney Rhodes Show. Facebook, Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. Follow us at Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. The Sidney Rhodes Show. You're on the right road. The Sidney Rhodes Show. Welcome back. Yeah, so right off the top, we really, really appreciate you being with us tonight. What a great night. Wow. Just really, really great. Really great. We definitely thank Pastor Jerry Bishop. I mean, the man just went there, everything that he's about, he let us know, that he cares. But it wasn't easy. And that's exactly the type of message that a lot of us need, really need to hear that. And so we were honored to hear his story and to give him that platform and we hope that he comes back soon. He is definitely welcome here. We respect and appreciate all the good work that he does. If by chance you did not get a chance to get his contact information, if you reach out to us, we will certainly get it to you. You can also check on the demand, iTunes or YouTube. Put in the Sydney Road Show in your search bar, and you can go back through and listen to the program and share it with family, friends, etc. Well, now, some thoughts that I've been having about this issue, and I lay it out there, and maybe we'll talk about it more another time. Maybe we'll even have Pastor Jerry Bishop back again to discuss it. But I want to just lay some things on your mind that I've been kicking around, just as thoughts. So if, let's say, hey, y'all all right? Y'all all right? Okay. If, let's say, there are 10 major qualities of a man. We put a question on our Facebook page, that we welcome people to chime in. We always respect and appreciate when people give us their thoughts. So one of the questions, what are the qualities of a good man? What are the qualities of a good man? So let's say that there are 10 foundational qualities of a quote-unquote good man. All right, let's just say that. Practically speaking, if you're in a situation where you're trying to instill these qualities in your son, and there's no role model for him to emulate to get those 10 things, then it's almost like we're cooking without all the ingredients. Can you dig it? Okay. And something I've been thinking about is, well, if you decide what those 10 things are, or you collaborate and reach out and find some men that maybe you respect and that you wish your son could, or pray that your son could emulate, but maybe that contact is not there, but maybe you can get your list of 10. My thought is there a way to emphasize, and then de-emphasize? So in other words, let's say that being sensitive or caring, let's say those are 1 or 2 that are on the 10, okay? And let's say that you, just by nature, you're a very giving, a very sensitive person. I'm wondering if we're overdoing it, overcompensating, and then, like cooking, if we're messing up the meal. Now, I want to say it a certain way. I want to say, don't add too much sugar. That's really how I want to say it. But I want you to hear where I'm going. But that's really the way I want to say it. Because, we don't need these cats too sweet. So if you cooking, don't add too much sugar. But let me stay on this other way of saying it. So if you notice these 10 things and you're very good at delivering on certain ones, right? Maybe your son don't need to see so much more of that side. Like maybe your son has enough of that now, just because there's no man around anyway. So my thought is, should women not expose their sons to so much of them? And that's a difficult thought, because he's around you so much. He gonna go where you go, right? I mean, that's how you roll. That's your son, right? But he's around you when you're on the phone talking to all your friends, your parents. He's hearing so many mannerisms. He's developing so much. I joked about it when we were talking to Pastor, but if the song comes on and you start to, do your little moves, well, he's watching that, right? So, he's developing certain ways of dancing. He's developing certain ways of moving because he's watching you. So, Sid, are you saying don't dance around my child? Well, I'm just saying that maybe, if you know that that the balance is not there, if you know that we don't have the balance, then maybe we don't expose so much of you to him? I know that's weird. I know it's a weird thought. But that's why it's Sidney Rose Show. It's something I'm thinking about. But I take it from the patchwork of what we're talking about. That if by chance we were cooking, you don't want too much of a certain ingredient. Too much of one thing is what? You see what I mean? You're giving so much. You're giving so much that he has no choice. You're overwhelming him with your mannerisms, quote unquote. You're a woman, right? You're overwhelming him with your way of being, which that's you. Of course that's you. There's nothing wrong with you being you. But if the flip side is true, if the balance of him seeing both would be better, if that's our equation, right? That if there was the man and the woman and they're good and they're going in the right direction, and we want the young boy to see both sides, and he's watching both, right? So he watches mama dance and he watches daddy dance. You see what I'm saying? Well, then go on and dance, because he gonna see daddy dance too. When you talking to your friends and he in the back seat and y'all driving from school or whatever, he's hearing how you talk. But then when he riding with daddy, he hear how daddy talk. So he's getting a balance. But what I'm saying is, if there's no balance, then should you pull back on some of the things, on some of the sugar? Because he's getting it from somewhere. When he's switching around the block, I'm just talking to you now. Come on now. I'm not trying to attack you. I'm trying to just reason with you. Where did he get that from? Why is he walking like that? He's 9 years old. Why is he walking like that? If I didn't have a dad in the house, a brother and uncles and everything else I was blessed to have, like Pastor said, I was tremendously blessed. I wasn't going to walk like that. It just wasn't going to happen. I had too many men around me, good men, sports, school. I had too many good men, for real. I was overly blessed in that department. I wasn't going to walk like that at 9 years old. But why is he walking like that? Where's he picking that up from? So, and it's tough, because if you say, well, dang, Sid, you're going, telling me I can't dance, I can't talk on my phone, I can't even walk around my son. I'm not saying it that way. I'm asking you about cooking. And until we get a balance, maybe he don't need to see so much of that. So, so all your music, let's say you really like songs that were more geared towards women. Let's just say you love Beyonce. Okay, cool. But is that all dude gonna hear? That's how you flow. She talking to you, but why is she also talking to him so much? Nothing against Beyonce. I hope you just hear the mental gymnastics I'm doing. We trying to reason here, right? We trying to reason. Okay, so if you play something that's speaking to him, is all that he's going to hear is when he goes out and hears some stuff that is degrading women and, no. See, you would still have to feed him a balance, but positive. Because you're trying to make up for the other ingredients the best you can. This is the thought. So if all he has is, as Pastor said, love and hip hop, right? So if you watching it, he watching it. Okay. Now, what are we feeding now? He's seeing you, and he watching what you watch. He listening to what you listen to. And maybe you can handle it differently. Let me say it like this. And I don't mean no harm. We just talking. Sidney Rose Show. We just talking. 917-725-4241. You can call me. We can talk about it. You can help me figure this out. 917-725-4241. Let me say it like this. If you grow up in a certain type of family that has, like real tight, like, they really own it. They really own it. But you don't really have no street to you. You ain't never been around no smoke. And nobody in your house drinks. Ain't nobody even cussing in your house. Okay. Other than those that just completely rebel, right? I mean, like they get like a little hint of something and they just completely rebel. Those exceptions aside, if that person listens to a little something or watches a little something, the odds that it will turn them away from everything that's put in them, the odds are lower because they're so built up. Now we're just talking odds, right? Now again, I'm saying some people, they get a little whiff of something, they get turned out and they out there. That happens. But in general, that's why you build people up. Okay, it's logical what I'm saying. That's why you practice. That's why you work out so that when you get into something, you're not tired in the first quarter, right? You build yourself up. So then if a little kink comes, something comes that's a little out the ordinary, you can handle it because you done built yourself up so strong. You prepare yourself for the full fight. So if the dude hits you with one punch, you ain't supposed to just go down in the first round. And if you do, if your training was strong, you might be able to get back up, right? You built yourself up. You're strong. So a little something come, it don't just, tip you because you're strong. Okay. Now this is, again, there are exceptions. All right. But this is what I'm saying. So the little bit doesn't really impact. It doesn't really turn you around. Okay. Now listen, now flip that back to single mother with her son. So now he done been with you for 10 years with no dad, no man, right? Look at what done got built up in him so strong. So even if a dude come around for a week or two, or pick him up once a month and take him to the movies, it's like he getting that one little. You see what I'm saying? But you done built up such a thing in him. Your ingredients are so high in him. Holla if you hear me. That's why people say, if you living all out there, 6 days a week, but then Sunday morning, you dress up and go to church. That ain't really the deal. You ain't really about it. Ain't no part-time crook, right? So, I mean, you living that life, and then on Sunday, you switch it up and then boom. Okay. So really you got 6 days of whatever. And then you got a couple of hours that you're trying to balance it. No, no. The other side gonna probably win out. Okay. All right. Not logically speaking. So you work out so you can build yourself up so the little bit don't affect you. Okay? Yeah. Tolerance. I could even take it there, right? It's going to take a whole lot more for you to even get that buzz next time because you done built up a tolerance. You can take it however you want to take it. It's the same principle though, right? It's the same principle that if you building this young man up with just you and you keep flooding him with just you, look how much more it would take for a real man to even counteract what done happened here. That's all he got. Walking like you, talking like you, thinking like you. But that's why maybe your daughter is so great. Maybe. You know what I'm saying? Maybe that's why your daughter's so great. Because she got all of that good stuff from you. And it fit. You see what I mean? It fit for her. You say, well, why is my son acting this way, but my daughter didn't? Well, because maybe you doing the same thing with him that you was doing with her, and maybe it's not supposed to go like that. So there's something inside of him that's tripping because he don't understand why he feeling one way, but another way. And he confused. Now, that's just a thought. Now, come on now. Sidney Rose Show, it's just a thought. It's a thought. But there may be something to that. And it may be where if you are really trying to balance out your young man, there may be some things that you got to pull back on that you don't show him so much of, that you don't just play those types of songs, that you don't just react, like all like that around him because you're trying to balance it out. He already going to have so much of you anyway. He's going to have that. But we got to create room for him to be able to develop the other ingredients. We have to create room for him to be able to get it and then blossom with it. Holla if you hear me. Now, it's just a thought, but y'all can hear me think about it. Like I said, maybe we have to have Pastor back. We talk more about that too, and I look forward to your comments on that. My ingredient theory, Sidney Rose Show. There may be something to it, maybe something, but I still say, why that dude at 9 years old walking like that? And I'm not for all this new thinking stuff. I'm not for all that. No, 100% man. I ain't for all that nonsense. Okay? But little man, he shouldn't be walking like that. He shouldn't be talking like that. So he going in a different direction with all that. And how we gonna step in front of it if we scared to step in front of it? Cause no, he got a right to do whatever whoever he want. No, you're supposed to train. That's your job. Now again, I ain't trying to be, I'm trying to help. I'm trying to beat up on you, sister. You in a tough spot. We should have stayed where we were supposed to stay. Do what we were supposed to do. You in a tough spot. Man, come on, I'm not trying to. I'm trying to help. But it's a fact that if the cat was doing what he was supposed to do, maybe he would be there, and then we wouldn't even have this conversation. So I give you that. I give you that as a possibility. But at the same time, you in the spot you in, right? And we trying to win from here. No matter the spot you're in, we got to win from here. And we can't win if we gonna not adapt. Improvise, adapt, overcome. That's what's up. Sidney Rose Show. I'd like to hear what you think about that. We'll be right back. The Sidney Rhodes Show, Facebook, Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. Follow us at Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. The Sidney Rhodes Show. You're on the right road with the Sidney Rhodes Show. Welcome back, Sidney Rhodes Show. We got a caller live. How you doing tonight? Okay, we just lost our caller. Let's see if we can get him back on. We'll try. Be patient. We had him waiting during the break. Let's see what happens. Let's see. Don't you hate when that happens? We'll try. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're sorry about that. Yeah, hopefully, caller, I apologize that we got disconnected. You're welcome to call back. So, hopefully, we're here 9 to midnight, so hopefully you can call back soon, or else you have to wait till tomorrow. Tomorrow. Well, anyways, so the thought process of us looking at how to handle if we're going to agree that our children need balance, but they don't have the pool to pull from. So if we're at a lack, if we're lacking the numbers, then what does she do? It's not enough good dudes to go around. So that's part of my theory here, is that, well, hey, if we don't have enough to go around, then she has to compartmentalize. You know, part of the theory that I'm trying to work on is, well, if there are so many ingredients that she's going to need to put into this young dude, then if you can write down those 10 things, I'm just, you know, I'm trying to be practical with it. And you say, okay, number 5 is X, Y, and Z. You know, that number 5 is this. Okay. Now you know he needs that, right? Okay, so now you're going after that. Who do I know that can help put that into my son? Okay, number 3, you know, is this. Who can put number 3 into my son? I'm trying to say be strategic with it. I got to get these 10 ingredients into my son. See, this is what we're going to talk about on the Sydney Rose Show. Are you better off going at it that way than just saying, I'm trying to raise a man. He's going to be a great man. I'm trying to do the best I can. I'm trying to raise my son. Wow. You know what I mean? That's a large prescription. That's like saying I'm going to cook a good meal. That's pretty haphazard, right? I mean, to just say, well, it's just going to be good. It's just going to be good. Well, what you going to put in it? What you going to cook? What's going to go with it? You know? You see? You know, plan it out. Are you going to have an appetizer? What's the main course? Are you going to have dessert? You know, if you really want to make it a good meal, you're going to have to get the ingredients right. You're going to have to really lay it out, really have a plan of, okay, now see, so this is what I'm saying. Can you take that same approach with your son? I don't know, you know, we're talking about it. And if so, would that make it easier for you? Put on your refrigerator those 10 things. You already know that number 1 and number 9 can come from you. Maybe 4 and 5 can come from you. Okay? Maybe. But you see what's lacking now. And if you have it on your refrigerator, the same as a shopping list would be, maybe you can attack it systematically. I need number 3. Who can help me with number 3? And then maybe you can talk to the dude. Okay, so let's take it back to what Bishop was saying. So let's say you at the church, and brother so-and-so, deacon so-and-so, Sunday school teacher, whomever, you know, good dude, though. He's a good dude, but he already has wife and, you know, family. So, you know, he doesn't have a lot of time, but he could really help with number 3. So now you don't have to just talk to him about, I just want you to spend time. I just want you to help out. No, you can be more specific. Just like you was planning for Thanksgiving dinner, Christmas dinner, whatever the case is. Hey, such and such makes great macaroni and cheese. Can you bring the macaroni and cheese, please? You ain't asking them to bring anything and everything. They're really good at something. Can they bring that something? That's how you going to operate. Well, why not operate like this? If you are able to look at it, does that get you where you're trying to go? Sorry about the technical difficulties there, ladies and gentlemen. A lot of fun on a live program. But could that work? Can you put their name on the refrigerator beside number 3, and then you off to number 4? You off to number 5. Oh, I got number 5. Okay, well then now you're on number 6. Holla if you hear me. You can have a direct plan of action to get these 10 ingredients into your son, realizing that you don't have all 10. So we're going to get that out. We're going to get that out quick. You know, I need help. We're going to put you in that mode already, you know, and you can't do it by yourself. So skip all that. I don't need. We're going to have to get beyond that to build community. Okay, we got to get beyond that to build good, solid family. So we got to stop saying that. Okay? I ain't trying to tell you that you can't handle your business, because obviously you are handling your business. What we're trying to do is get this young man on that right office. Okay? And we got to get these ingredients in this dude. We can't just keep giving him number 9, right? Which is coming from you. We can't just keep giving him number 9. That's just that balance. Then he walking down the street at 9 years old, switching. Or he's so confused that he's emulating every little rapper he sees, because that's the closest thing that he can get to get his identity from. He's just confused. He's a child. He don't know. Our job to direct. Holla if you hear me. Nine 725-4241. We're here every night, 9 to midnight. I look forward to your thoughts on that. You know, the ingredient theory of trying to help. Now, is it perfect? Well, no, it can't be perfect. This is at best we're talking substitute. Come on now. I mean, this is what we're really after. Is we would hope that, you know, we had a balanced actual family, husband, wife, doing the thing. I mean, that's what, you know. I mean, okay, so my little theory ain't perfect because it's already a Band-Aid. Holla if you hear me. But I'm thinking it might make it more strategic. You might be able to focus better and get the type of resources you need if you lay it out the same you do other things in your life. And you can prioritize, and you can see, and you can make an outline, and you can start to dissect you can just pinpoint. Okay? You go to the doctor, you hoping that doctor gives you a good physical and can pinpoint where you jacked up at. Holla if you hear me. And you hope that he or she gonna give you some medicine specifically for the junk that's got you jacked up. You don't want nothing to help your foot if you go in there because your heart messed up. Man, what you give me that for my foot for? I wasn't worried about my big toe. My heart, man, my heart. Holla if you hear me. So it's the same thing. You go get your car fixed, and he messing with your tires, and you told him about your transmission. Come on, focus on what I'm talking about, right? That's the way you're going to deal. But then with your son, I just need some help. No. If you map it out like what we're talking about, you could say specifically, I need this. I want this. And that's why we asked on that question on Facebook, hey, say, what are the qualities of a good man? And the sisters was chiming in, boom, boom, boom. These are the qualities. These are the qualities of a good man. Okay. So that's the beginnings of a list. How do we get these things into these young boys? Specifically, yours. And if we're able to do it, then what we're saying is it'll be a good meal. Now, if you ain't got the right 10 things on your list, then we done messed up, right? We got to get a good list. We got to get a good list. You can't be going after the list. Oh, I got everything on the list, but no, didn't nobody want to eat that. Wow. Don't take that the wrong way. Now, see, I know it's getting late. Sid Rose Show. What a great night. What a great night. And I appreciate y'all. So we'll be back at it 9 to midnight. I want to thank Pastor Jerry Bishop for being with us tonight, spending all that time. It's great. Dealing with our question, can a woman teach a man how to be a man? Great night. We look forward to your responses. And if you want to hear the program again, you can always go to our page of Facebook. You can follow on Twitter at Sidney J. Rose Jr. As well, you can go to iTunes or YouTube, put in the search bar, The Sidney Rhodes Show. All on demand. Everything is free. We just want to get it to you. We just want to get it to you. We're here every night, 9 to midnight. Brought to you by Increase Solutions, making yourself better. You're trying to increase your company, your organization. Link up with Increase Solutions, LLC. That's what it's all about. Until tomorrow, one love. The Sidney Rhodes Show, Facebook, Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. Follow us at Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. The Sidney Rhodes Show. You're on the right road. The Sidney Rhodes Show. So, yeah, you know, it's just a part of speaking out for those that, you know, don't have a voice, you know. We have an obligation, you know, to help cats. It just can't be about us all the time. You know, there's people that need help, and this is what we do, you know. We got to reach back. We got to help out. Sidney Rhodes Show. That's what we all about. Shh. Have you heard? You ain't hear about that. Did you hear? Who told you? That Increase Solution LLC is making a 24/7 network? Come on now. Well, what about the Sidney Rhodes Show? Oh, Sidney Rhodes Show is still going to be from 9 to midnight, though. Oh, okay, because, you know, you don't be tripping. Sidney Rhodes Show still from 9 to midnight. Okay. But you mean all those other hours, 24/7, need to be filled? Which means cats they can have their own show? You tripping. Are you serious? Or they can be guests on other shows? So you mean if you had a talent or idea or something you want to do, you got a chance right here to reach the world? Come on, man. What's the catch? What? All they got to do is get at you on Facebook? Facebook, Sidney J. Rhodes Jr.? So wait a minute, what kind of topics? I mean, what they could do what? Relationships, religion, news, education, health, race, business development, entertainment, empowerment, what? All of that? And whatever else? What? All they gotta do is get at you? What you trying to say? That if they want to get out there, they can get out there. This their chance. For real though? For real, they just go Facebook, Sidney J. Rhodes Jr., send you a message and be like, hey, this is something I want to do. And then if it's good, it's good. Is that what you're trying to say? For real? Man, that sounds all right. That's kind of cool. All right. Nah, I'm with that. I ain't gonna hold you up with that. All right. Facebook, Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. Okay, all right. I might try to have a show. That's all right. Well, wait. What if I got a product or a service, something I just want to advertise to the world? I could Facebook, Sidney J. Rhodes Jr., and I can hook up and try to get that too? Man, that's all right. Oh, man, go on, man. That's cool, man. All right. No, I ain't gonna hate. I like it. 24/7 network. All right, helping people, giving some good perspectives, having people think about things, man, and some entertainment too, man. That's hot. All right, I'm cool. That'll work. The Sidney Rhodes Show, Facebook, Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. Follow us at Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. The Sidney Rhodes Show. You're on the right road. The Sidney Rhodes Show. You know why do this? You know, Sidney Rhodes Show. Well, it's not about whether or not, you know, we have all the answers. I think it's a collaborative effort. I think that there are a lot of brilliant people in the world, and this is a point, you know, a critical point in history. And if we can circle the wagons round, you know, if we can bring the people together to think about the concepts and look at things from a different angle, different perspective, look deeper, you know. I mean, it's possible that we can help somebody. It's possible that we can create better structures, I mean, you know, towards a more perfect union. You dig? I mean, so I really, you know, I throw out a lot of questions, you know, because I really want people to think. And, you know, sometimes I just, I believe there's a utility to just allowing some things to be questioned, you know, just that First Amendment right, you know, just allow it to be questioned, you know, and then if it's the truth, let it be the truth, you know. I mean, if it stands, let it stand. If not, then we got work to do. You feel me? I think we owe it to ourselves. We owe it to our future. We owe it to our children to get to the truth and then stand on that. That's the Sidney Rhodes Show, you know. So I invite people from all different perspectives, you know, with respect. We know, we put it up, we put it to the test. That's what we do, Sidney Rhodes Show. And that's why we do what we do, you know. Gotta love it. Sidney Rhodes Show. The Sidney Rhodes Show. Facebook, Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. Follow us at Sidney J. Rhodes Jr. The Sidney Rhodes Show. You're on the right road with the Sidney Rhodes Show.